Welcome back to Foster and Grow, guys. So today we'll be talking about when to water your succulents. So in regards to this, we'll be looking at some of the physical signs, visual signs, as well as the watering methods we use to keep ours in prime condition. So just like these guys here. Yeah, so one of the best ways to check if your succulent does need water is actually by using physical touch. So if you use one of the leaves that actually looks healthy to get a baseline, that one actually does sort of push back when I touch it, as opposed to the leaves towards the bottom of this one. They sort of feel empty of water. They're much softer to touch, and that's what happens when the plant actually loses the moisture. The leaves will become a little bit wrinkly and softer. So really crucial way you can actually find out if your plant needs water is by physical touch. Yeah, so one of the first things you'll want to start looking for when you're watering your succulents is some of the visual changes that you'll get. Now, in terms of this, when a succulent is fully hydrated and it's got its full height and form, it tends to stand quite upright. Whereas if they're underwatered, they'll tend to have less internal pressure, they become more droopy. So you'll see with this one, it's kind of falling to the side. In this case, the leaves are starting to droop down a little bit, also a little bit wrinkly. And in this case, this one's actually drooped right over. So they all need a good water, these ones. Yeah, so some of the specific signs for underwatering. First of all, just if you have dry, crispy leaves, just like this one here. Apart from that, they will also not grow as much, and their stems will start to become quite constricted as well. Yeah, so the next thing we'll be talking about as well is just when you're overwatering, some of the really clear signs that your plant is struggling a little. So in terms of that, you'll notice that the leaves become really soft and wrinkly, just like a few of these ones have. Further to that, you also get a little bit of black rotting, including on the stem. So this leaf's a very good example of it. But you can also see parts of that plant's actually blackening up a little bit, which is a sign that the plant's in a lot of trouble. Lastly, the other one is that the leaves fall off easily, which you can kind of see again with this one. We've had a few come off, and yeah, just a sign that you need to back off the watering, even if it's just by a few days or so. Yes, so now we're going to talk about the ways that we actually water our succulents to keep them in top condition. So you'll need to soak the actual plant. If it's in a pot that's got a hole in it, you'll know because the water will start coming at the base of that plant. That's how you know it's soaked. Crucial though, if you're going to water again, you need to make sure that the soil dries out fully before you re-water. So depending on the temperature and time of year, you could be doing it monthly, you could be doing it weekly. It also depends if it's exposed to rain outside. So if it rains, you may not need to water these plants yourself. The rain may be enough to actually keep that plant healthy. A good way to actually test for that is with a skewer. So you can just essentially place that into the soil when it's dry, and then it will actually, if it's dry when you pull it out, you can soak it. If it's not, you won't need to water it. So that's a little bit of a tip. Yeah, so the reason these plants like to be watered or soaked heavily is because where they originate, they will get very, very heavy rain, and then they generally get prolonged periods without it. So that's why they need to be soaked. They like to be deeply watered into their roots and not just lightly watered, just because of where they originate. Another little tip for you, especially with Echeverias, do not, if possible, water them into the actual rosettes, because the water can get held there, and we've found personally that it's much more likely that the plant may have problems if you water it directly on top of the rosette. So just a little tip for you. Another thing you need to take into account as well are weather conditions. So the reason that these 3 plants are in such poor condition is because we got a month's worth of rain in 2 days, and we left the plants mostly exposed to that. And you can see the actual result of that. So we've almost lost one plant completely. The other 2 are a little bit better now. They're sort of coming back, but it's something you definitely need to take into account are weather conditions and where you've got your plants situated. So we're learning, just like hopefully you guys are.
So thanks again for joining us, guys. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about the maintenance and care of these plants. If you have enjoyed the content, throw us a like, give us a subscribe, it all really helps, and we'll see you next time.